Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Angelina. Today, we're going to revisit a topic that has exploded across both China and American media over the past few weeks, a term known as the kill line. We've discussed this before in earlier live streams, particularly in the context of the CCP's overseas propaganda machine. But instead of fading away, this topic has only intensified. In China, it has stayed on social media trending lists almost every single day. In the United States, mainstream media outlets have started publishing analysis and rebuttals. And on January 20th, the issue escalated to the point where US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was asked about it publicly. So tonight, we are asking a deeper question. Why has a term that originated in a niche online video become a high hit political topic in both China and the United States? Why are state media, Western media, CCP state media, Western media, and social platforms on both sides of the Pacific reacting so intensely? Let's break this down carefully. The term kill line was first popularized by a Chinese student in the United States who goes by the name Lao A. He borrowed a term from gaming culture, but used it to describe what he claimed is the underlying logic of American society, scraping it down, as he put it, to its raw mechanics. In his video, Lao A suggested that his comments touched on deep structural weakness in the US system, so deep that he felt he was being threatened by certain institutions, including the CIA or related investigative agencies. Shortly afterward, with assistance from the Chinese embassy, he purchased a ticket, left the United States, and returned safely to China. This is where things escalated. After returning to China, Lao A's online presence didn't shrink, it expanded. The people appearing with him on live streams were no longer random netizens. They became professional hosts and eventually even professors from Fudan University. Then came a warning that truly shocked people. Lao A began urging Chinese students and Chinese nationals in the US not to check the organ donor box when applying for a driver's license or ID. His exact claim was blunt. Chinese kids who didn't use drugs have healthy brains and strong hearts. Their organs are extremely valuable. He argued that if someone is unconscious or severely injured, having that box checked could affect how aggressively a hospital tries to save them. This issue exploded not just because of what Lao A said, but because of what it intersected with. Inside China, Communist China, organ donation and organ transplantation have become extremely sensitive topics. In recent years, reports of young people and children dying or disappearing under abnormal circumstances have circulated constantly on social media in China. And public suspicions has increasingly pointed toward China's organ transplant industry. And then there was this moment. At last year's military parade, Xi Jinping publicly stated human lifespan can now reach 150 years. That single sentence shocked audiences both inside and outside China. Against this backdrop, it's easy to understand why the kill line narrative gained so much traction and why Chinese influencers across Weibo, X, and other platforms rushed to amplify Lao A's message. I mean, certain Chinese influencers, those ones funded by the CCP, Lao A's message struck two universal fears: economic insecurity and personal safety. But that alone doesn't explain the reaction from major institutions. Let's look at how Western media responded. The New York Times framed the issue as a Chinese cognitive warfare tactic, using extreme cases to smear the US. In other words, this is exaggeration. America is doing fine. And then The Economist took a different angle, suggesting that Chinese obsession with the kill line reflects their own anxiety, attempting to redirect fear outward. And Newsweek, however, acknowledged a hard fact. Around 40% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency expense. Here's the key point. A topic that had previously existed mostly within the simplified Chinese online circles suddenly became something Americans themselves were forced to discuss. And by January 20th, it had reached the level of a formal response from the US Treasury Secretary. That's not accidental. Now, let's talk about timing. 2026 is a US midterm election year. After 1 year in office, the Trump administration has highlighted measurable economic results. Tens of trillions in investment commitments, declining inflation, falling gasoline prices, lower food costs, including eggs. There's no question that the administration has prioritized economical recovery after the damage left by the Biden years. But economic recovery takes time. And as midterms approach, the CCP is pushing one message relentlessly. Americans are living on the edge. One illness, one layoff, one accident, and your life collapses. If voters begin to believe that narrative, the political consequences are very obvious, right? The term kill line has become a rhetorical weapon aimed directly at the Trump administration. You can say jobs are up. You can say tariffs worked. But if voters feel they are still one medical bill away from disaster, those arguments lose power. As inflation and healthcare debt become top concerns for swing voters, the CCP's message is designed to erode trust in government, in governance itself. This is a classic attempt to push the United States into a Tacitus trap, where the government loses credibility no matter what it says. The CCP already lives inside its own Tacitus trap, but it doesn't fear public opinion because it doesn't rely on elections. The United States does. That's why America is the CCP's greatest obstacle, especially under the Trump administration. US actions against Venezuela, Iran, and Cuba have already caused massive damage to Beijing's Belt and Road ambitions. The CCP cannot afford to sit still. To understand this strategy, we must talk about Wang Huning. Wang Huning is the CCP's third ranking official, a political survivor across three administrations, and widely described as Xi Jinping's chief ideologue. In the late 1980s, Wang spent 6 months in the United States as a visiting scholar from Fudan University. In 1991, he published a book titled America Against America. Its core thesis was simple but dangerous. America is a society full of internal contradictions. Wang argued that social order relies on expensive legal systems rather than moral cohesion. Capitalism widens inequality, social mobility declines, and young people fall into nihilism, drugs, and violence. In his view, these forces would eventually destabilize the United States from within. Today, the CCP is putting that theory into practice, using American problems to attack America, using American voices to undermine American trust. As Mr. Guo Wengui has warned for years, this is part of the CCP's broader unrestricted warfare strategy, including the 3F plan and the blue, gold, yellow tactics. Propaganda is one of its most powerful weapons. The formula now is very clear. Grassroots influencer initiates the narrative, state media elevates it, and Western media reacts, amplifying it further. This feedback loop is designed to fracture society during an election year. Yesterday, on January 21st, during his Davos speech, President Trump made a critical statement. He said that prosecutions related to the theft of the 2020 US presidential election would be moving forward very soon. And that sentence carries enormous implications because if CCP interference in US elections, along with COVID 19, the vaccine catastrophe, and the economical sabotage, is fully exposed, that becomes Beijing's a real kill line, a line that determines political survival. So, how will this end? And how will the CCP respond? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. We'll continue breaking this down in future live streams, combining Mr. Guo Wengui's past revelations with new intelligence as it emerges, as well as the development of the events. Thank you for watching, and please follow the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.